Hello, guys. It's the truthful African child once again in your face. People don't seem to realize the complexity of what is going on around the world as the conflicts, the fight for supremacy, dominance, and what have you. Sacrifices been laid down by countries like Iran, Russia, North Korea, and sometimes China are not I wouldn't refer to them as selfish sacrifices because at the long run, we all as a planet benefit from it. Because the worst thing that can happen to any group of people, country, community, or even a planet is absolute dominance. That's where you have a group or an individual or a group of persons dominating, the rest of the people. Just like in the case what the United States is trying to do to the world, Israel is trying to do to the Middle East. So I think we owe these guys, countries like Iran, Russia, North Korea, China, we owe them respect and salute for what they're actually doing. They are standing and opposing absolute power. You know what it means for one country to call the shots for other countries. Whatever they do, they can't be called to order, they can't be corrected, they can't be opposed. You know, the United States is pushing for absolute power, which is it doesn't make sense. It never ends well. You know, if you look at it the other way around, it's what you call a dictatorship at its peak. You know, at its peak. In this planet we find ourselves, nobody is more human than the other person. You know, nobody's more. You don't own this planet. The planet belongs to all of us. We have equal rights to earth, to the resources. We have equal rights to our boundaries. You don't cross from your own boundary to mine. That would be trying to create problem where there is none. So countries like Iran are not fighting selfless, fight. I mean, a selfish fight. They are fighting for the rest of us, believe it or not, like it or not. And I think people like Africans should actually learn one or two from this. You know, just like I've said before, sentiment doesn't bring you anything. You know, weeping, trying to buy sympathy from your neighbors, your opposition, your enemies, it doesn't get you anywhere. Strength gets you where sentiments and pity would not even dream of pushing you to. Nobody bows to pity, nobody bows to sentiments. You know, they only they dominate sentiment, they dominate pity and use it to their own advantage against you. So it's high time uh, Africans start, waking up to their potentials. The world is already damaged. Either you want to believe it or not. Don't take my word for it. The world is already. We're just managing, you know, the little we can manage. The world is already at its peak of collapse because civilization has almost ruined everything. It has pushed everything to ruins. Everything, with no exception. Everything. The ozone layer is messed up. The the ice in Antarctica is messed up. The seasons no longer hold. Like where you have the rainy seasons, and there is no longer balance because modern day civilization, you know, uh, what will I call it? Inventions are ruining things. I'm not a Christian. I'm not religious, but let me borrow a verse from the Bible. It says, there's this verse that says, "There's a way that seems right unto man or unto a man, but the end thereof is the way of destruction." Yes, you can see the point from that verse. You know, it seems as if these civilizations and these inventions are actually promoting, you know, kind of a better life, a better living. But at the end thereof, it's only bringing more destruction to mankind. The pollutions, the road, you know, take us back to like 1,000 years. You wouldn't be bothered about crossing highways and getting hit by one automobile or so, you know. So life was there was there wasn't much expectancy from living from a person from an individual. You just live, you just work for the ones things you actually need. Not you're fed, you're okay. Now you want luxury. Luxury is and has never been a necessity. Luxury is just an addition to the wants and the desires of man. So things have gotten so mixed up. So now when things get mixed up, what do? You don't just say, okay, things have messed up, let me go to bed and never wake up. No, you adjust. And I think that is what things like countries like Iran, North Korea, Russia are actually doing, and they're adjusting, you know, trying to push back this set of people who are trying to dominate the planet and take it to themselves, and control who says what, who takes what, who gives what. That is where these guys, I say, they're actually playing an important role in this planet. Without these few countries I mentioned, probably we wouldn't even know where we would be today. You can't come and claim you are sovereignty on your own, and you're encroaching another country's sovereignty, invading kingdoms, invading countries. It wouldn't have been bad 200, 300, 500 years ago. But man, this is the 21st century. You don't do that. You don't invade sovereignty and think you just go to sleep and everything is okay. You know, so we shouldn't. There are people. I think this generation, because of the birth of social media, you know, gadgets and all that, people hardly listen to organic news. They hardly make research. They hardly seek the truth. They just go to the media, and whatever they hear, they see, they listen to, they just absorb it and go with it. Nobody wants to know the truth. Nobody wants to know the truth. Nobody's more human than the other person in this planet. We all have blood flowing through our veins. You can't tell me otherwise. Africans need to learn. You don't look up to another man to build your house, your environment, your community. You build it yourself. When another man comes to build for you, he can come to lay claim on that property tomorrow, anytime, because he built it. He designed it. In fact, he even knows the whereabouts of that around that property than you, because he designed it, he built it. So if he wants to invade it, it's going to be quite easier for him to do that. So Africa needs to wake up, learn from countries like Iran. Even though in wars there are no winners because there are losses, but there are some wars that are actually necessary. You can't just sit and die in your bed. It's better you fight, standing and dying on your knees. So if it comes to war, you can't run away from it. You have to fight, because how long and how far can you run? You know, Countries feeling like they are more superior, they own this planet, they have more say than other countries. It can't continue. So at some point, we need to fight back. We need to stand up. Forget about the news. There are some news that are state sponsored, not even state sponsored. They are sponsored on the level you can't imagine. The 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 they dispense what they want people to absorb. So Look for news by yourself. Look for information. Don't depend on some mainstream media, you know, because these days you never can tell. You never can tell. So, this channel is mostly about Africans and them waking up, because I still believe Africa is in a slumber, is in a very deep sleep, and it needs to wake up. Wake up to reality. Wake up to the things happening around you. Stop this begging attitude. You beg, while as you're sitting on a gold mine. You wake up, you're lazing yourself, and you keep begging, keep going to. You don't need all these people. You don't need it. You have everything you've ever wanted. Nature has given you everything. You don't even need to go out of the borders of Africa, to do any begging or any soliciting. You have everything you need. Trade within yourselves. Build your security. Make yourself powerful. Did I say powerful? Make yourself extremely powerful, and the opposition will come to you to negotiate, not to tell you how to live in your land, in your community, in your country. Once you are up to the strength of sitting on that table of power, you'll be called, you'll be respected. Look at North Korea. I know they are not there yet, but they are moving at a very fast pace, and they are beginning to get their flowers. Nobody cries with you. Nobody sympathizes with you. Nobody feels pity for you. When you're weak, you'll be made mockery of. You know, Respect to Iranians fighting for, standing for what is right for them, standing for their rights, and not chickening out and bowing to pressure, and respect. RIP to those who have lost their lives in this conflict. But it is what it is. It's a war. You don't expect anything different. You know, but people are watching, and I hope my fellow countrymen, I hope my fellow Africans are watching and learning. Say no to sentimental. Don't view things from a sentimental point of view. Always view life, view anything you do from a ruggedity angle. Ruggedity in this planet supersedes. Ruggedity supersedes at the end of the day. Nobody wants to hear your story. Nobody wants to hear your cry or your pity story. Stand strong. Fight for what you believe in. Fight for what you feel is right, what you feel is yours. So long you're not encroaching on another man's sovereignty, another man's land, or trying to steal what is not yours. Free Palestine, free Gaza. Salute to Iranians.